In Bhagavad Leela, 10th Canto, Chapter 47, Bhramara Gita, the Song of the Bumblebee. In this chapter, Uddhava, while visiting a meeting with the Gopis in Nandagram to deliver the message that he was carrying from Krishna in Mathura, he hears 10 types of chitra Jalpa, which means the surprising talk or prattling of Radharani, which are symptomatic of the highest stage of divine love madness, Divyonmad Mahabhav. Uddhava then gives Krishna's message to the Gopis. He praises them and returns to Mathura to report to Krishna. The damsels of Braj became astonished seeing Uddhava, who looked so much like Krishna. Uddhava had long arms, lotus petal eyes, and he wore a yellow dhoti and a lotus garland, and his face was like a lotus and glowing with brightly polished earrings. When the Gopis saw this person, they said, "Who is this handsome man? Where has he come from? Whom does he serve? He's wearing Krishna's clothes and ornaments." Seeing Uddhava, the Gopis became excited over the possibility of obtaining news about Krishna. The Gopis bowed their heads out of humility. Being naturally bashful, they covered their heads with their chunaris, veils. Bashfulness appears automatically upon meeting a respectable person. Thinking that Uddhava must be an intimate friend of their beloved Krishna, the Gopis smiled and looked at him with curious eyes, and greeted him with pleasing words of welcome, and worshipped him with foot wash and other items suitable to the time and place. In the verse number 3 it says, Upavishtam asane, and it's translated as they seated him comfortably and began to question Uddhava. The Acharyas explain that although following the proper etiquette to receive a guest and a senior, the Gopis offered Uddhava some of their torn cloth of their chunari, but when it says he accepted it, but how he accepted it is he simply touched it with his hand because he was in such reverence of their love, but he did not actually sit on their cloth. In verse 3 it says that the Gopis took Uddhava to a quiet place because they recognized him to be a messenger from Krishna, the master of the goddess of fortune, which the word is Rama Pate, the husband or the master of Rama, Lakshmi Devi. But Shukadeva Goswami, he's siding with the Gopis. So by addressing Krishna as the Rama Pate, the husband of Lakshmi, he is showing some jealousy towards Krishna. This phrase, Shukadeva is implying that the Gopis are saying, the goddess of fortune herself is coming soon to Mathura to make Krishna happy. So what purpose could Krishna have in making a pretense of sending messages to us cowherd girls? The Gopis addressed Uddhava. We know you are the personal servant of Krishna, and you have come here on the order of your good master. We know who you are, and we do not have to ask. You are a follower of the Lord of the Yadus. Yarupate. By using this word to address Krishna, Gyarupate, the gopis are implying that even though Krishna is from the cowherd community, he is now living as the king of the Yadus. Having attained such a big post, why would Krishna, Gyarupate, want to come back to Vrindavan? Therefore it seems, O Uddhav, that Krishna has sent you, not for us, but simply to pacify his mother Yashoda and his father Nanda Baba. In other words, we think Krishna has sent you out of fear of criticism from the public, who might say, what use has Krishna for his parents who are cowherd people? Nanda and Yashoda may cry themselves to death, but Krishna will simply stay here in Mathura and rule as king. Oh, charming fellow, that crest jewel of intelligent persons has sent you to satisfy his parents. Having come here, you should go to Nanda and Yashoda. Upon receiving you, they will forget about Krishna and their ecstasy. Indeed, the sharpness of Krishna's intelligence has come in handy. Thus, there are many implications of criticism hidden in the gopis' words of false praise. Uddhav, we do not see anyone else worthy of remembrance in Braj. If Krishna has in this way disregarded even his parents, Yashoda and Nanda, whom he remembers, then how is it possible for such persons like us to have a place in his memory at all? Even those who take sannyas find it hard to give up the relationship with their father and mother. But Krishna has very easily given up his relationship with countless wives of others whom he enjoyed. Ah, just see the severity of Krishna's renunciation. It may be objected, oh, gopis, because Krishna has no need for a mother, father, brother, or anyone, he should not have possessiveness of them. He has some use for you women, however, because of his wantonness, and therefore he should be remembering you all the more. The gopis respond to this objection. Friendship with those other than one's parents is motivated. Without those motives, the relationships do not exist. Thus they should be condemned. Those who make friendship, those who are the object of friendship, and those who assist in bringing about friendship are all to be condemned because of the selfish motivation. There is friendship where there is motive, and no friendship where there is no motive. The friendship of men and women is the same. Attractive women, like flowers, possess beauty, fragrance, tenderness, sweetness, and charm. As bees drink only once of a flower's nectar and then leave it for another, fickle men abandon beautiful and devoted women to pursue other pleasures. Thus, since there is no friendship even when there is motivation, this relationship is even more despicable. Now the gopis give a series of examples to logically illuminate their principle that friendships do not exist without motivation. The gopi said, the prostitute abandons the penniless man, the citizens give up the king who cannot protect them, and the priest gives up the sponsor once he has given a donation. The birds give up a tree once the fruits are gone. A paramour gives up a woman though she is eager for enjoyment. But as long as she is young, he does not give her up. When the motivation disappears, the friendship ceases. Therefore, since Krishna's motives are being fulfilled by the women of Mathura, why should he remember us gopis of Braj? By this, the gopis are hinting that Krishna does not have any love for them. In this verse 8, the gopis are implying, it is all right to reject a woman who is involved with many men out of lust, but we are many who are simply devoted to one, and still he has no love for us. Our love is not impelled by lust, since we have had love for Krishna since our childhood. By neglecting so many of us gopis, Krishna shows unprecedented cruelty in his heart. The gopis abandoned the customs of general society by revealing with their own mouths their indulgence in illicit love, while repeatedly singing about Krishna's pastimes in childhood and youth. The gopis forgot all external considerations and wept openly before Krishna's messenger Uddhava. Ever since their childhood, the gopis' love for Krishna had been unconditional, nirupadika. It is not the case that in the youth the gopis' love became conditionally motivated by lusty desires, kamodika. One of the gopis, Vrishabhanu Nandini, who is the essence of Krishna's pleasure potency, while meditating on her previous association with Krishna, saw a honeybee before her and imagined it to be a messenger sent by her beloved Shyam. Thus, Vrishabhanu Nandini spoke as follows. Imagining in her meditation how Krishna is associating with the women of Mathura, Radhika experiences the rise of jealous anger, man, within herself and thinks, my beloved Sri Krishna has sent this messenger to pacify me. Thinking like this, Radha addresses one bumblebee, Bhramara, which has just flown in front of her. Or, it can be thought, on the pretense of speaking to the bee, Radha was actually directing her words to Uddhava, the official messenger sent by Krishna. So this verse number 11 describes the Mahabhava of Srimati Radharani. Seeing the bee buzzing around greedy for the fragrance of her lotus feet, Sri Radha spoke impulsively, Prajapah, due to the influence of divine madness, Divyonmad. Radhika said, O bee, friend of a wicked cheater. Now Radhika enumerates the reasons why Krishna should be called a cheater. Krishna said, for my sake you have given up everything to come here, filled with loving attraction, yet I have given you up. Please forgive me for this injustice I have done. You have surrendered yourselves to me with the highest attraction, and it is impossible for me to repay you, naparayeham. And while sitting on Akrura's chariot, Krishna sent a message to us gopis who were pained by the impending separation from him, saying, I will quickly come back from Mathura. Because these statements are false, Krishna can rightly be called a cheater. O bee, as a friend of that cheater, you are playing the role of a messenger. Don't touch my feet. The bee, making a buzzing sound, seemed to be saying, what is this? Will you not let me offer obeisances to you? Radha replies, my feet will be contaminated if a drinker of liquor, another name for a bee, marupa, touches them. So if you want to pay obeisances, then fly away some distance from me and do it there." The bee seemed to reply, "Why are you accusing me of being drunk when I am faultless?" Radha says, "This is not just an accusation, it is true. Do not touch me with your whiskers, tinged by the kumkum of the flower garland from another woman's breast, which has been crushed by contact with Krishna's chest. Or the garland worn by Krishna, which has been crushed by another woman's breast." Thus Radhika ascribes such to the natural yellowness of a bee's whiskers on his body, the hairs on his body. In fact, the fact that you have come here to conciliate me, the maker of that flower garland, without even first washing off such kumkum, is indeed due to a complete lack of discrimination on your part, which is a sure sign of your having been drinking liquor. You should have the sense to know that such an exhibition will only increase my jealousy, not decrease it. As the bee continued to hum, Radha thought the bee was again speaking, saying, "In any case, you should be happy." Radha replies, "My dear bee, O protector of the liquor, go back to your master in Mathura. Guard his store of liquor and drink some yourself. That is a good job for you, because you are too stupid to be a qualified messenger." While flying around and humming, the bee seemed to be saying, "I see, you are finding many faults. Why should I listen to all this? Now I am going to Mathura. Let Krishna come himself and make you happy." Radha: "Krishna has now become the master of all the madhus, Madhupati, in general. Although by his birth from Brajeshwari's womb in Vrindavan, Gokul, Krishna belongs to the coward caste. By some good fortune he has become a Kshatriya. Therefore let him always satisfy those Kshatriya women in Mathura. What use does Krishna have for us low-class cowherd women? But when Krishna enjoys one of them, another Mathura Ramani might become jealous. And when he satisfies that second one, yet another will become jealous. Thus, Krishna will have to continuously satisfy them one after the other. As a result, Krishna will not have any free time to come to Vrindavan to see us." The bee seemed to reply, "Bzzz. You are the ocean of good fortune for Krishna. You should not speak like this. If his mind is not fixed on you, why has he sent me here as his messenger?" Radha: "You are the carrier of the marks of Krishna's love affairs with the Kshatriya women. Indeed, this will be the cause of Krishna's being ridiculed in the assembly of the Yadus. When the news of Krishna's transgressions with the Yadu women becomes known, their husbands will scorn Krishna, or else there will be ridicule against that assembly of Yadus who are related to Krishna, who has a messenger like you. In other words, the Yadus will be condemned by Kshatriyas from different countries because their women were enjoyed by a coward man. He who has a messenger like you is also Madhupati, the master of intoxicating liquors. Thus Krishna must be a drunkard also, since it is in the stupor of intoxication that he would have made a bumblebee like you, his messenger. So Radharani is experiencing different sanchari bhavs, such as asuya, indignation, and she's also expressing her jealousy of a rival lover, and her mada, her pride by saying, "Don't touch my feet." So Radha's uttering these harsh words to decry Krishna's tactless treatment of her. And this verse and the following 9 verses, 13 through 22, exemplify 10 varieties of mad emotional talks known as chitra jalpa, spoken impulsively by a lover. This verse illustrates the qualities of Prajapah, where Radharani is saying, Radhika said, "O honeybee, O friend of a cheater, don't touch my feet with your whiskers, smeared with a kumkum that rubbed onto Krishna's garland when it was crushed by the breasts of a rival lover. Let Krishna satisfy the women of Mathura. One who sends a messenger like you will certainly be ridiculed in the Yadu's assembly." So this illustrates Prajapah, which is speech that denigrates the tactlessness of one's lover with expressions of disrespect. It is spoken in a mood of envy, jealousy, and pride. Text 13. Radhika said, "After making us drink the enchanting nectar of his lips only once, Krishna suddenly abandoned us, just as you, my dear bee, might quickly abandon some flowers. How is it then that the goddess Padma, or Lakshmi Devi, willingly serves his lotus feet? Alas! The answer must certainly be that her mind has been stolen away by Krishna's deceitful words." The bee seemed to say, "Zzz, this yellow color of my whiskers is only natural because I am a bee. It is not kumkum from Krishna's association with another woman. Therefore, what offense has Krishna committed? He thinks only of you, Radhika, and never looks at any of the women in Mathura, even while dreaming. Why have you become so angry?" Radha replies, "After making us drink the nectar of his lips just once, Krishna has given us up. That is his offense." Vishwanath. Though Krishna had actually kissed the gopis many times, by saying that Krishna kissed them only once, Radha expresses her extreme loving thirst out of attachment to Krishna. Radhika continues, "Because Krishna's lips are full of nectar, in spite of our suffering, we have not died." Krishna previously considered, thinking, if all the gopis die of such torment, then who will be left that I can torture? So to prevent them from dying, I will make them drink the nectar of my lips. Radha continues, "Then, after giving us just a taste of that nectar, Krishna immediately abandoned us. You should consider that if Krishna really wanted to give us happiness, he would have forcibly made us drink the nectar repeatedly." Zzz. The buzzing bee said, "But if this is the case, then why do you chaste ladies still desire him?" Radha answered, "That nectar of Krishna's lips destroyed our intelligence. By tasting that nectar, our hopes in this and the next life have been all destroyed. Krishna does not consider the saying that one should never cut down a tree one has himself planted, even if it is poisonous. What Krishna likes and dislikes is astonishing. Just as Vishnu made the demigods drink the nectar churned from the ocean of milk, Krishna made us drink the nectar of his lips. Yet he also abandoned us, just as a bee abandons jasmine flowers. Zzz, the bee said. But when Krishna abandoned you, was it your fault or his? Radhika. Just as you abandoned flowers, so Krishna abandoned us. Just consider whose fault it is when a bee abandons some jasmine flowers. We are famous in Braj as being like jasmine flowers in fragrance, softness, attractiveness, and purity, due to our spotlessly clean minds, Su Manasa. Whereas Krishna is famous for being a fickle bee, desiring only his own pleasure. This is not just a poetic metaphor. It is Krishna's fault of fickleness that makes him abandon a multitude of jasmines and become attracted to inferior flowers, only again to detach himself later from them. Why should we not become angry with Krishna out of jealousy, just as we would with the bee? The bee argued. It is well known from scriptures that Krishna is faultless. After all, Gargamuni, who knows the scriptures, has said that Krishna is equal to Narayan, Narayana Samaha. Radhika. Well, that may be, but how can that cover up what we see in real life, such as the way he cheats others? Pondering this, Radha found a reason why Lakshmi Devi serves Krishna's feet. And she said, Lakshmi Devi serves Krishna's feet because her mind is taken away by any and all glorification of him, submitted by ordinary garrulous flatterers. Lakshmi is thus very simple-minded, but we, on the other hand, have been endowed by the Creator with the assets of insight, wit, and broad intelligence, and are not going to act like Lakshmi Devi. In this verse, the phrase that we lose our intelligence shows Krishna's deceptive nature. And the phrase he instantly gives them up expresses Krishna's mercilessness in abandoning the gopis. And the allusion to Lakshmi being simple-minded reveals Radha's cleverness. All these words indicate Krishna's ungrateful nature and complete lack of love for them. This verse is an example of Pari Jalpa, which is speech which, through various devices, shows one's own cleverness by exposing the mercilessness, duplicity, fickleness, and ungratefulness and other qualities of one's Lord. Text 14. Radhika said, O bee, why do you sing here so much about the Lord of the Yadus in front of us homeless people? These topics are old news to us. Better you sing about that friend of Arjun in front of his new girlfriends, the burning desire in whose breasts he is now relieved. Those ladies will surely give you the charity you are begging. Vishwanath. Seeing the bee constantly buzzing due to his nature, Radha thought, agitated by my criticism of him, he is now singing his own glories. So Radha said, why are you singing in this place, the assembly of coward women? The songs of an ignorant bee will not please the gopis. Nevertheless, you keep on singing. Not only that, but in those songs you are publicizing the glories of the leader of the Yadus, Yadunam Adipatim. Moreover, you are doing this right in front of us, who are made by Krishna to give up our homes and are now sitting at the edge of the forest in Uddhav Kyari. We will not give you even a handful of chickpeas in charity. If the bee replies, then just give me some old clothing or garlands you have worn. Radhika: I will not give these to a complete fool like you. Reciting the Puranas, you are trying to prove that Krishna is the Lord of the Yadus. Oh, you Shat Angre, 6-legged creature. An animal has 4 legs, but you have 6, so you are an animal and a half. Thus, being so completely ignorant, you don't know where or what to sing. And being a foolish animal, how would you know the Puranas? How do you expect then to receive any charity? But since you are merely an animal, we will not become angry with you. Rather, we will advise you where you should sing in order to support yourself. You should sing in front of the girlfriends of that friend of yours who is preeminently victorious, or defeated by them in the battle of love. You should sing all about those victories and defeats in love. Vijay Saka. Vishnath explains that the word in verse 14, Vijay Saka, can mean the friend of Arjuna, who has a second name of Vijay, the victor. Previously in Braj, Krishna was known as the friend of Subal. But after Krishna left Braj, he became known as the friend of Arjuna. This pronouncement of things yet to come, this prediction, has spontaneously emanated from Radha's mouth. Radhika said further, elaboration of verse 14, furthermore, O bee, the women of Mathura, now relieved of the burning pain in their breasts, Shapita Kucharujas, will fulfill your desires, Ishtam Vanchitam, and they will be honored, Ishta Pujita, by hearing your song about Krishna. So in this verse 14, we observe in Radha's mood the seed of jealous anger, which arises from an apparent disdain for Krishna, accompanied by a sarcastic sidelong glance directed toward him. This verse is an example of Jalpa, which is sarcastic speech criticizing Krishna, the killer of Aga. Such sarcastic speech openly expresses jealousy, while at the same time concealing the angry pride in one's heart. Text 15. Radhika said, in heaven, on earth, or in a subterranean sphere, what women are unavailable to Krishna? Krishna simply arches his eyebrows and smiles with deceptive charm, and all the women become his. The Supreme Goddess herself, Lakshmi Devi, worships the dust of Krishna's feet. So what is our position in comparison? But at least those who are wretched can chant his name, Uttama Shloka. Hearing the buzzing of the bee, Radha thought he was saying, O crest jewel of Krishna's lovers, in Mathura, Krishna suffers from the piercing arrows of love. He spends his nights and days simply meditating on you. He can be saved only if you become pleased. Radha disdainfully replied to this in this verse, saying, I know perfectly well that Krishna cannot pass his time without the company of young women. If Krishna can't meet any women in Mathura, then it is good that he meditates upon us and tries to satisfy us by sending a messenger like you to bring us there. Don't tell us that the women in Mathura, being of the Kshatriya class, will not accept a person of coward birth. For there is no one unavailable to Krishna in all the three worlds. Both the demigoddesses in heaven and the Nagapatnis in hell will all give up their husbands if by chance Krishna appears before them. Then what to speak of the women of Mathura? For obtaining these women, Krishna does not have to depend on any pious deeds or monetary payment. Under false pretenses, Krishna smiles and arches his eyebrows to enchant all women. As a result, the Swarga Devis and other women become the property of Krishna and no longer belong to their husbands. Simply for the price of Krishna's deceptive smile, they sell themselves and abandon their husbands. In this verse, Radharani speaks the word kapat, which means deceptive. By this she means Krishna is deceptive because after enjoying them once, he immediately abandons them and looks for new women. What to speak of the Swarga Devis? Even Lakshmi, the consort of Lord Narayan, worships the dust of Krishna's feet in order to gain his association. According to the prayers of the Nagapatnis, which we heard from the mouth of Purnamasi. Therefore, how can we remain unaffected? After all, dear B, we are only humans, mere coward women residing in the forests of Vrindavan. Vishwanath. Although Radha's words are full of humility, actually, through the inflection of Radha's voice and the nodding of her head, they imply a spiteful attitude due to pride. Through that jealousy or spitefulness, Radha reveals her superiority to Lakshmi and all others in prem, beauty, and caste compatibility with the Lord. Radha continued. One is called Uttama Shloka if he is merciful to the wretched and fallen. Krishna lacks this quality. Therefore, that name, Uttama Shloka, is falsely ascribed to Krishna. If Krishna would be merciful to me, then he could actually deserve this exalted name. So by using this word Uttama Shloka, Radharani is subtly abusing Krishna. Radha's speech, expressing all the feelings of a disappointed lover, indicates an intensity of love for Krishna, surpassing even that of Lakshmi. In the first half of verse 15, Radha accuses Krishna of being a cheater by citing his attraction to all women. The third line, Radha's spite or jealousy, irsha, born out of pride, is indicated. And the fourth line of the verse, Radha finds fault with Krishna's behavior due to her indignation. This verse contains a type of speech known as Jalpa, which is declaration of Lord Hari's duplicitous nature in a mood of spite born of pride, together with jealousy spoken insults directed against him. Text 16. "Oh, B, keep your head off my feet. I know what you're doing. You expertly learned diplomacy from Mukunda, and now you come as his messenger with flattering words. But he abandoned those who for his sake alone gave up their children, husbands, and all other relations. Krishna is simply ungrateful. Why should I make up with him now?" Vishnu. While the bee was flying around, by chance it landed on Radha's foot out of greed for her fragrance. By continually buzzing, it seemed to say, "O lady, worshipable by millions of Lakshmis, truly Krishna has offended you, but I say that you should forgive him." Thinking that the bee was offering his respects to her, Radha said, "Why are you touching my foot to your head? Please go away. Let go of my foot, which you are holding on your head. In other words, get out of here. I know you, so you cannot cheat me like you cheat Lakshmi and others. You have learned from Mukunda and thus are very skillful in humble entreaties and sending messages with flattering words. Thus I fully understand your behavior, and I know that you have learned all this from Krishna. But mistress, what is the use of quarreling with Krishna, who is millions of times dearer to you than your own life? Rather you should make peace with him through me." Radha: "For Krishna's sake we gave up our children. We gave up children, husbands, mothers and fathers, yet he gave us up and left. The Gopis, who were prevented from going to the rasa dance, gave up their children and went to meet him. We gave up our husbands, and the unmarried girls gave up their parents. So in spite of all this, what was Krishna's response? Being ungrateful, he just abandoned us. Should one make peace with such a hard-hearted personality? No, never." Vishnu. The first half of verse 16, Radha shows a gesture of sarcastic criticism. In the second half, Radha shows Krishna's ungratefulness and other qualities like treachery, mercilessness, and lack of love. This verse illustrates the qualities of son Jalpa, which is speech which decries with deep irony and insulting gestures the beloved's ungratefulness, hard-heartedness, inimical attitude, and a complete lack of love. Text 17. Radhika said, "Like a hunter, Krishna cruelly shot the king of the monkeys with arrows. Because Krishna was conquered by a woman, he disfigured another woman who came to him with lusty desires. And even after consuming the gifts of Bali Maharaj, Krishna bound him up with ropes as if he were a crow. So let us give up all friendship with that dark-complexioned boy, even if we can't give up talking about him." Bzzz. The bee seemed to say, "O Radha, as far as I can see in Mathura, soft-hearted Krishna is simply meditating upon you." Radha replies, "You are simply an inexperienced servant. Because you are new to Mathura, you do not know the facts about Krishna. Not only is Krishna cruel in this lifetime, but even in many previous lives Krishna has been cruel. We have heard from Purnamasi. When Krishna appeared as a Kshatriya in the form of Ram, he transgressed Kshatriya Dharma and mercilessly killed Bali, the king of the monkeys, by hiding behind a tree, just like a hunter kills a deer. In this story, there is even more impiety because Krishna did not even adhere to the dharma of a hunter. The hunter never kills monkeys because their flesh is inedible and no one will buy it. Now listen to another instance of Krishna's irreligiosity. Overcome with lust, a woman named Shupurnaka once desired Ram, but Ram disfigured her by cutting off her nose and ears so that no one else would want to enjoy with her. This was simply because of Krishna's cruel nature. Ram did not perform this cruel act because he was upholding a vow of celibacy while wearing matted locks and the dress of a renunciate. Because at that time Ram was living with Sita, being conquered by her love. Similarly, when Krishna appeared previously as Vaman, a dwarf Brahmana, he rejected the qualities of Brahmanas such as peacefulness and straightforwardness. After enjoying the offerings made by the pious King Bali, Vaman cast Bali down from his lordship of the three worlds into a hole below the earth. Krishna deceitfully tied up Bali like a crow. A crow devours the offerings meant for worship, and then calling other crows surrounds the woman doing puja and mocks her. Similarly, Vaman called his own people, who then surrounded Bali and tormented him. Enough of friendships with that black-complexioned man. For us, golden-complexioned women, despite all the varieties of friendship we have had with Krishna, not one has proven auspicious. One should be extremely wary of Krishna because he has such an impure heart. Therefore, what use do we have for such a person? The bee seemed to say, but how is your heart pure if you are constantly criticizing others? Radhika. Talking about Krishna's activities in his past lives is hard to give up, even though it makes us unhappy. Though we should not be talking about Krishna, we cannot stop talking whether we criticize him or not. Though we have given him up, we cannot stop talking about him. Even the best of munis find it difficult to give up speaking about Krishna. Vishwanath's comments. Radha's describing the shooting of Bali indicates Krishna's ruthless, cruel nature. Being controlled by women, Sri Jita, indicates Krishna's lust. Accepting Bali's offerings indicates Krishna's fraud. And friendship with that black fellow indicates fear and malice, and that Krishna is not worth becoming attached to. This speech of Radharani's is called Ava Jalpa, which means when a lover, impelled by jealousy and fear, declares that Lord Hari is unworthy of her heart attachment because of his harshness, lustiness, and dishonesty. This speech is called Avajalpa. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe.